Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another later live stream from the Mohawk team here. And we love trading this kind of dead zone. Obviously, New York has just closed, and we've got this hour little dead zone between now and the open of the Sydney session. So we like to look back at some of the trades for the day that we've done, and also look forward to the Asian session and trading the Aussie 200 as well, and a quick look at all the fundamental news that's gone off today. Obviously, we got some nice wins on jobs news as well. We'll just look on my FX book. As always, if you like what we do, you like the true scalping, which is what we do on the 3-minute time frame, then obviously give us a like and share and subscribe the channel. All the information on how to join the group is at www.mohawkforex.com or in the description on the YouTube below. So we listen to Bloomberg, who go over all the daily kind of news and stuff and everything. Had some good results on the jobless claims. Obviously, the initial jobless claims was the kind of bigger one, which was a better than expected result, backed up by the 4-week average. So pre-market, an hour before the US, so we kind of went reverse. We go with gold, goes in the direction. So we took some buys on gold, took some sells on US-30. They all hit target, and then once the market opened an hour later, we went the opposite way and we sold. We bought USD and sold gold, and again they all hit target. So successful day using the fundamentals to kind of dictate which way the market is going to go, and that's why we focus on US-30 and gold for this. So a nice day and a small trading day. As you can see, there wasn't much that did the balance of trade earlier on for the DAX, and this is now the end.
And he did talk about reining in inflation is going to be the hard work, but he also talked about consumer spending is up more than 20% versus 2019. So that's above pre-pandemic levels. The consumer is really strong. I scratched my head with so many people. What do we?
Sorry.
22 million Americans have.
If anyone's got any questions or anything they want me to look at, then obviously they could just message me. Well, a good week so week, you know, as the markets have kind of been a bit more normal than they were at the end of last week with the COVID news. Obviously in the UK there has been more restrictions. Watching this US-30 look at the moment. Watching the RSI reaching 28. Looking for a break here, look, our neutral support zone, in which case this could be a nice little sell. Sorry to interrupt what I was saying, but we're just looking for potential scalps towards the end of the session.
Which is why it circles right back to the Fed and how ridiculous it is. I know that they're bringing it to an end, but how can the Fed be buying $120 billion a month of bonds when you have all of these people who aren't working and you have all this consumer pressure and costs going through the roof? And people are spending, and that's creating more of the demand, and they've made money in the market.
Hey, Hillary, I want to get your thoughts on.
A lot of it's a stock market rally. I mean, that's trillions of dollars that we've seen.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Apple.
That's
a company that you say is
Fed.
Is priced for growth.
Yeah, let's just see here. If this, like I say, we didn't quite touch our oversold zone here, so making sure my broker is set up. Spreads aren't too bad at the moment. They're still trading on the US-30. Later session, but could be a nice little sell. Not going to sell when it's on that support line. Gonna wait. We'll get 50 points maybe. I'd rather wait. See if we get a break of our trend line. Remember, this is the Axe trading system. There's obviously a boutique trading system that we've designed, and it's only available to guys who join our Discord, VIP Discord channel. But obviously we trade, you know, fundamentals are like 70% of our trading in conjunction with the TA that you see Have a quick look at gold as well. Gold is now ranging, as you'd expect. Again, oh, we had a break here. It's really nice. That was the sell. Again, we could be a chance of a sell here as RSI drops. This could be good. Let's measure, see what the only small thing. Pip 5. Quite tight down to our breakout zone. Really worth it. I like to look for a gap of 100, make worthwhile trading. I know that at least I'm going to get 50 points on gold. And let's have a quick look at oil as well, because oil again has had a slide. You can see from the start of European market open here, started out about $73 a barrel and has ended up at 70, so quite a big loss today on oil. So wonder if we can get some kind of back. XTI market. You know, if RSI creeps over our average line into the neutral zone, it's broken, price action is broken, these lines here, then we could well be in for a buy, and we're looking for 100 points, so that's got plenty of room to scalp. So oil is, could be a potential if obviously it doesn't sink lower, you know. Might look to regain a little bit of losses. So watch oil.
Inflation, and therefore has had greater profits, and therefore that's where we see the supply side adapting.
Abdul, whose casket is draped with an American flag inside the Capitol Rotunda.
Robert.
We all come into this world with potential, and the more of it we can tap in.
So Dow's unchanged, 500, Nasdaq 171. So still fairly oversold. Everything's ditched a little bit. As actually go. See on our system here, there would have been loads of buys. It sells 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the buy, 6 sell, 7 no trade, 8, 9, 10. You took about 12 scalps on that. It's just, I love when we can scalp a trend, which most people don't know how to do, or panic, or count candles, or use moving averages and all the rest of it, and you're always too late to the game. I think with the Axe trading system, it's very lag free. No indicators, zero. We know, but finding it with the news releases gets us in trades definitely quicker and out of trades as well, and that's the whole secret of true scalping as well. So with NAS here, look again, we can either look for a further sell if this area is broken and we're hitting the 25 on our RSI, then we'll dip down and look for 100 points, 8-1, so that could be a potential sell. If we get a break above our average RSI line and we go green into the neutral zone, then obviously we can scalp, break on here, scalp 100. 100 points is going to get you about $50 a point. So, you know, nice easy trading. You don't have to have stupid account size or big lot sizes. It's just metering out what is the potential. I mean, like baseline here is an area for resistance, these always zones, these lines. So here's where you could expect it to pull back to. You either decide as a trader, I'm going to hold for this, or am I just going to take 100, 150, 200, get out and wait and re-enter. That's your choice. Yeah, we could watch NAS for a little bit. So this is all end of market. Dead zone trading, and then we'll switch and look at the Aussie, the Aus 200 in a minute as well. Right, that was our TP from tonight that hit. Now, as you can see, we're looking for, I mean, that's a lovely M, double top, head and shoulders, bang, look at it, dropped, broke our baseline. Here was your first scalp, here was your second scalp, here was your third scalp. Didn't hit the oversold, so no more, and then you wait for the bounce back, and here would have been a nice little buy there. And now we've kind of got that W pattern going. See, look, we've had a W to an M to a W. So again, I love drawing these out because people who don't believe market move pattern, this is what I teach. And it's only by seeing them as automated on build trading system for people who need to learn. But obviously, if you can spot them without, there's your W, there's your M, second leg. Obviously, we'll
comes in by about 1.7%. The S&P off about 0.7% today. A lot of the concern was really
looking for that continued issue. This drop down here, bounce of trend line, break. I'll just catch this bit here and then re-enter again once the trend line's breaks here, then you catch it again. The grid system, it's easy to look at your risk and also your potential TP, and you use these lines for stop loss or TP. That's a nice example of wave strategy.
It will now include 16 and 17-year-olds. Pfizer shares today up by about 1.3%. Healthcare, really one of the two groups within the S&P that were positive. Everything else was negative.
That's on volatile indices. So you could say we might be looking to take a buy down to here before we take a sell down to here before we take a buy. You can have a look.
Lululemon boosted its adjusted EPS forecast for the full year. This guidance now above the average estimate, and those shares right now higher by about 2% in late U.S. trading. So tomorrow we get the CPI data, 10-year Treasury today at 149. It's going to be very interesting to see what the word on retail inflation is. We'll have special coverage for you here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm Doug Krisner. That is your Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you so much for that update, Doug Krisner. Bloomberg Business Week is brought to you by Witham. More than
Let's have a quick
look. Advisors offering smart business solutions to help innovate, grow, and stay secure in today's complex world. Visit Witham
200
for more.
start Sydney session. Under pressure, may fall. A bit of a range. Looking at 7225. Where are we now? We're 7. Well away from that. So 7th. So yeah, this could drop a little bit more. Only more than 120 points on broke the RSI. Say this could be a potential TP on the initial open. There. Bit one. Doing. And your stop loss would be obviously baseline or the first points of interest on our grid. The choice is yours. That's your risk management. I don't. I'm not giving out financial advice here, so I'm just, giving you the options. If you wanted to trade it, that would be the two I would look for personally. I just want to scalp that. I mean, that's comes back live. If we can get 100, we go for 150 with a spread. Set that up.
was the strength in their semiconductor solutions group. They came in at 5.63 billion. Street was looking for 5.6
Again,
billion.
buys are always better in the Asian session than the sales because spread.
Regards to some of the comments that they've come out in terms of their lead time,
Sales stops
in
in
terms of their new iPhone 13, and we all know that Broadcom generates about
on
25% of their revenues in their semiconductor solutions segment from the Apple contract, making chips for the smartphone. So it's interesting to see that they had a strong beat on that segment despite some of the comments that have been coming out from Apple. So that was very encouraging. And of course, as Carol mentioned, the guidance going into their upcoming first quarter, 7.6 billion versus their 7.23. That was consensus. That's huge because that gives us confidence, right, guys?
It's
That next
huge,
quarter's gonna be
right?
really good.
I
Yeah.
am like blown away by this report.
And because you mentioned, I'm watching shares of Apple in the after hours. Just down about by about 0.2%. So Apple not moving significantly. Is it fair to draw some sort of connection between what Apple does and what we learn from Broadcom? Can we learn about anything about Apple from Broadcom's results?
I think so. I mean, Apple right now is on the cusp of hitting $3 trillion in market cap. I mean, I just can't believe it. I remember when it hit $1 trillion. I was like, wow, that's a huge number.
I'm pretty sure that was just 2018.
Yeah, relatively recently. So, yeah, I mean, Apple's been kind of driven by a lot of different things, excitement surrounding metaverse, about autonomous vehicles. And also you've seen a little bit of flight to quality going into Apple, shares by investors. We had some choppiness with that Salesforce number and Snowflake the last 10 days. And so you see this migration into Apple. But, Apple's near or close to a 52-week high. It might have pulled back a little bit, but I think we can, Tim, definitely see some correlation.
I always put two positions in as well, just the way I do it. People say, why just do one? Why you could do four or whatever, but my personal thing, I just always do two. Split my lot sizes across two trades. But I put in for a little sell there, and then we can watch that and see if we get a buy afterwards. That's a potential.
So Broadcom has two segments, is that right? The semiconductor solutions and infrastructure software. Is that the right breakdown?
Little scalp in the open.
It's kind of funny, right? Because do you remember Symantec?
Yeah.
Remember Computer Associates? I do. I know Carol does, but she doesn't like to admit it on the air.
I remember Symantec. As a consumer, though, not as a journalist.
I remember Computer
Yeah,
Associates.
we did the same thing when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But anyway, they bought those companies. It made no sense, right? It was kind of like Oracle buying Sun Microsystems, the old Scott McNeely company. That's even dating back further. But anyway, long story short, yeah. So they're basically still predominantly a semiconductor company, but roughly 15-20% of sales do come from this.
Let's have a look at the OK 225 as well.
Software companies, right? And so it's not
Yeah, that was
so
a dip, isn't it?
it's kind of gotten their, embraced it and kind of understands it. But
oh, well, look at that for an M to a W.
5% revenue growth, so it's pretty benign.
Perfect.
It's really all
This wants to come down more before
about broadband.
shooting on up. So
The opportunity for them in cloud.
looking at something like this.
We only have 30 seconds left with you, but I got to ask the China question because according to Bloomberg,
Again, I would go to
the company's revenue comes from China. Are you concerned?
We just going down to our points of interest. Just scalp that. Then obviously look for the view bottom. That's just a perfect example again. You want to be catching that leg. There, look.
That's what I always wonder, like some of the bigger macro stories that we talk about, the problems, and then you see a Broadcom,
In terms of the sell, if we can get a bounce off. Again, 100 would do. That as well. The Nikkei 225. Look. And it's not going to be much. Quick. 100. Like micro scalping. Hang on. 0.9. See, we'll push up. Could come back to our area here. At least it'll go to that neutral resistance zone. Again, it's pumping up at the moment. You know, it might break, go buy, and you take a buy if it breaks above here. Wait and see. Let's have a look at Hong Kong 50 as well. Oh yeah, lovely range. HK. This is the spike we caught today, and now I got 4 trades off that one spike actually. Cool, and again, break downside. Let's just start and saying. Now this one's going to pump, so that's okay. We're going to get a break on here. And there's your first line. First area you can. Again, these are just the ones, the less cautious ones that you can go for before you know you're going to get some kind of. It might well break, but mostly it's going to get a pullback before you break up. So you can just measure and just then work out: is this worth me trading? I want to trade this. What am I going to get? You're looking at 35. So have a look at 35. Okay. K50, 35, and that's going to get me really using a margin of, so that's like a $4,000 account on this. Going to get me about $30 a trade, just get like that. So at $60, that's fine, you know what I mean? And your stop loss is going to be here obviously is our breakout line, so this is where your stop loss would be, just below there. If you've got a massive account you want to hold, you can have it below the support zone here and here, but for me this would be enough you know, to stop me out, and then take the buy then if you do trigger out, you know. But there shouldn't be too many spikes on this. If you're more cautious, then just pull your stop loss just low here, you know, so you'd be entering a long position. That, and you maybe that, probably a more sensible 0.85, fine, you know. This is true scalping after all. Like I say, the risk rewards are never going to be massive, but we're looking just to get in and out on the next level. It's that simple as, and less risky trades. Let's finish off with the China 50. Again, similar pattern. A massive crash of all the news and stuff. It's been in a range for the last almost of today. Not really much happening. We've got a break above here, so this could be buy. Just have a market news.com. Let's get a feel for what the market's saying. China, what we're looking at. It's just like it's going to be a, again, going to get in and out first leg. Measure that out, but what the potential is. 78 points on that. Stop loss below points of interest line. RSI going green is your trigger. Simple. Go 78. And these are the setups that I give to the team every day where I can, where if there is a setup, obviously can't force it. The market looks like it's going to give us a move in the right direction, then obviously we will post it and we'll trade it. Like China 50. go 70 with a spread.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1.
So that is setups done.
To the country, Sirius XM channel 119, and around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com.
And we've got 30 minutes till the
This is Bloomberg Business Week.
All right, you're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol,
look here. There's no news until the morning
about the travel industry.
European session, which we like to trade. The inflation rate would be a good one. This will give us a key direction for the actual cash open in London. Also, as potential to trade the DAX in reverse to the news, because sometimes, like saying as US pre-market, you can end up market will manipulate and will go the opposite way to the good or bad news. Then it switches on the open. Got that, and we've got the goods trades balance for the UK. So I'm probably this is the one I'm most likely to trade. It's probably go with the UK, the FTSE pre-market trading, and go the opposite to whatever the news event is. That's what we look for. It's backed up with the GDP 3-month average and the balance of trade. So we've got a double whammy here of news events. And obviously, they should all be in the same direction, hopefully. In fact, there's all these. I mean, all these ones are medium here. That you've got manufacturing production as well. So this is all 1 hour before London Open. So it looks like we're going to be trading this news tomorrow. Print this over.
The Dow was essentially flat. NASDAQ composite today dropping about 1.7%. Guys, we're talking about Broadcom earlier after the bell. A beat on EPS for the last quarter. Revenue, though, did miss. But if you look at what the company is guiding now on the current quarter, that forecast is above the estimate. And Broadcom also raising its dividend 14%. And the company has announced a
It's a nice one.
stock buyback. Shares right now in late trading higher by about
5%.
Tomorrow we'll get the report on retail inflation for the month of November. Ahead of that, 10-year Treasury down today by a little more than 2 basis points.
Go.
Last quoted at 1.9%.
Big one tomorrow. CPI, inflation.
Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Doug, thank you so much. Well, the S&P Super Composite, hotels, restaurants, and leisure industry
Michigan
index is
consumer.
down slightly. We saw a little bit of movement today, up about 13% year to date. It's really, Tim, been bouncing around this year, depending on pandemic headlines and what's going on in terms of certainly COVID and the variants.
Well, let's get an update on really how the industry is feeling. Let's talk to Julia Simpson, Chief Executive Officer of WTTC. That's the World Travel and Tourism Council. She joins us on the phone from London. Julia, how are you?
Oh, hello, Tim. Hello, Carol. I'm joining you from a very chilly London.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it's a chilly New York here today as well, so we are certainly thinking about
Oil. This could be a potential buy. I'm going to be looking at an oil. Just let me just.
Markets and how investors are really trying to make sense of the
This.
variant, and certainly you have a seat at the front
Here.
of when it comes to what governments are doing.
Good. And I just want to get in for
Give us an idea of really how the
points on oil.
is dealing with it, because
Say it's not open at the moment on my.
It
Is it?
is still the early days, Tim. I mean,
There we go.
the World Travel and Tourism
Yeah.
Council, we look at the global impact on
100
travel
points on trading views, 10
during the,
pips.
pandemic, and we represent about 200
That gets you,
CEOs and
you know,
chairmen in
about
travel
50.
and tourism, from cruise to hotels. So we talk to people on a regular basis, and we get a good idea.
Need to be greedy
Just to put it
to
in
take any
context, the pandemic
risk.
really hit travel and tourism. As a
And your
sector.
stop loss is going to be below our points of interest breakout zone here at 70.577.
We were hit by nearly 50%. So
Watch
an industry that was worth
oil
$9
as well.
billion globally was cut down to about 4.6 billion. That's last year. Now, we do a lot of research, economic research with Oxford Economics, and we've been charting where this might go to. And I'm going to give you some US figures again in a minute. But pre the latest strain of COVID, we were looking at getting back to maybe globally 85%, 80% recovery if there aren't further restrictions by the end of 2022. In the US, actually, the picture is looking a bit brighter, Tim. The actual value of
Just for a minute and see what the RSI does if it goes green.
Pre the pandemic, taking 2019 as a baseline, was about $1.8 billion. You took slightly less of a hit at around minus 41% in 2020. That's mostly because of the strength of your domestic travel and tourism market. And so you sort of got sliced down to about $1.1 billion. Now, the good news is this year you're expected to grow slightly ahead of the global picture by about 36%, so that's slightly better. And then if things were to continue, and this, I think there's big messages for governments here, but if things were to continue benignly or in the way we're seeing them now, you could get back to actually, in a good time, exceed in 2022 your pre-pandemic GDP.
Right.
You do. That's the kind of numbers, if you like.
Right, Julia, and you do think about the pent-up demand because people can't retake the trips that they missed during the pandemic, but they can certainly go out and take a ton of trips once they feel confident about moving forward. You mentioned government. I mean, the WTTC works with governments to raise issues and some of the industry's concerns when it comes to travel and leisure. What is the top one or two concerns of the industry right now that you all are bringing to global government officials?
Yeah, exactly. We've been raising with governments globally, first of all, a total lack of international coordination surrounding travel within the pandemic. You understand when a pandemic hits a country, governments naturally look inward. They're worried about their own citizens. This is completely natural and normal. But as we sort of look up above the parapet and reach hands across the ocean again, there's a severe lack of international coordination in terms of, what is...
Yeah, it's interesting to see what they're talking about.
So that's one problem. Another problem is we see these severe travel restrictions suddenly coming down. So I'll give you a really good example. When the new variant was identified in South Africa, a lot of countries immediately leapt to barring anybody from certain countries in the southern part of Africa coming to Europe and coming to other parts of the world. But the irony is that the very own World Health Organization...
Come back down again, but still a neutral zone,
they were saying,
still...
it was a variant of concern, but they...
I think the price wants to just creep back up a little bit. It's not. I mean, it's had such a massive loss. Look at that. Had no real corrections. A little bit of a pullback here. Look, we could have traded, and again here. We tried again here, but didn't break from here. You can see here's our 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
The golden bullet,
Right.
the silver bullet is the vaccination levels.
See, there's our flat baseline, which gives us that area where we know price, safe zone there. Just below it. So that's
I feel like we hear that
where
a million times a day, and yet
I all would love to get back to before some kind of bounce. So, always a possibility. Maybe an Asian session, if not, definitely tomorrow.
WTTC, the World Travel and Tourism Council,
Still come all the way down to 70. We've got a heavy support zone around $70 a barrel. If it breaks our breakout zone here, then obviously we'll not take the buys, we'll take the sells. We just wait for price action and the RSI to guide us, along with any news that we might come out via COVID. Obviously, worse COVID news, the more oil is going to sink in price. That's the way it always works. US-30. It's going to get back into that neutral zone for us.
14 Republicans voting with Democrats to take up the measure.
On this vote, the yeas are 64, the nays are 36. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn having voted in the affirmative. The motion is agreed to.
The final vote on raising the debt ceiling, which is not expected to receive any Republican support, could come later today or tomorrow. Tributes today for Bob Dole, who recovered from grievous wounds by serving in World War II, entered politics, and rose to become long-serving Republican leader of the Senate and a candidate for the presidency. His body is lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda.
Leaders of Congress recalled Dole's public service, his sense of humor, and his willingness to work across the aisle, as did President Biden.
Bob and I, like many of us here, we disagreed on a number of things. We still found a way to work together. America has lost one of our greatest patriots. The truth of the matter is divided as we are, the only way forward for democracy is unity, consensus, the only way.
The president laid a wreath. He and the leaders embraced Dole's widow, Elizabeth, who also served as a cabinet secretary and a senator. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Nancy Lyons.
Thanks so much, Nancy. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. I'm Master along with Tim Stanovic. Our guest right now is Julia Simpson, President and CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council. She's been with us from London. We've got a couple minutes. We're going to do a little bit more news, and then we'll come back and bring her and do some more. But, Julia, just in about a minute and a half, what is going on in London? Because we all were watching the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, his press conference yesterday on COVID, tightening restrictions once again in the UK, mandating masks, encouraging home working. What are you hearing from your members of your community about that specifically and London specifically? Because I know you're concerned about those travel restrictions.
Yes, absolutely. The good news for travel and tourism is there haven't been any further restrictions emanating from the UK government. So I think they've recognised what I was saying earlier, that once a variant of this of COVID is actually in your community, it's absolutely pointless trying to put in front of it. So good news for travel and tourism. No further restrictions there, which is great. I think what they want to do is to try and restrict a little bit gatherings of people, and they're saying that you can go to work if you have to be there in person.
Within that range, waiting for some kind of break.
They're just saying for a period.
50 later, they'll be set on the odd.
Variant seems to be slightly more infectious and travel faster. So they're just being cautious. I think it's more cautious than dramatic, if I'm completely honest.
Pull back or not.
Life is still carrying on pretty normally.
Nice.
You know, I can get on the metro, the underground tubes and trains.
Do people wear masks on the underground
yes,
there?
you wear masks. So that's what you do on on any kind of transport. You wear a mask. If you go into a shop, football.
No trade yet on the Oz. So we could look to take a selfie. Yeah, actually.
I'm going to a soccer match this weekend, and I will be able to join,
Distance.
Tens of thousands of people, but I'll be wearing a mask, and I'm probably going to be asked for masks.
The more we can tap into our potential, the more we can do. That's why we design ETFs to unleash the potential in investors, so they can pursue their goals, no matter how ambitious.
It's going to be TP. No, we're not in any trade on here yet, so.
Bigger.
Nice leg. Pull back in. So we're not actually open on it yet. This is the difference, the markets are open, running all the time, pre and post market and dead zones. Obviously, depending on what broker you use, you can't always trade these zones, so I can't trade this for another 15 minutes. So any analysis you do, obviously you just adjust it. Price action moves. Yeah, it's a nice W to an M to a W. If it breaks up here, we'll take the buy. If it comes down, here you go, here's the sell. So you just wait and adjust. Let's just back a little more. Gonna just an infra. Really want our breakout line. Scalp 2. Breakout line. Know it. Here's the range in here. I'll break out, so it's trapped in there. So major moves occur once it's broken below or broken above. Or micro scalping within a bigger scalping system. We want the RSI to go green, come out of this zone, then we're in. And we're just waiting now and see. Get this. At the end of the stream, we've got 10 minutes to go. Let's do a quick hour tonight live. Just to show you how I set up for the Asian session and how I trade like oil in the dead zone or whatever. You know, it could be anything really, whatever is set up right, and this is a good setup. Everything's still negative, of course. Here we go. Just making the move. Excellent. Just see. We hit our first line up there. It'd be nice to be in and out of a trade while we're actually live. RSI, as you can see, look, exactly where we needed to be. So here is your entry point. Bang.
Revenue from cloud services and license support were up 6%. That was much greater than forecast. Stock right now is higher by about 6.5% in late trading. We also heard from Broadcom. Company beat on EPS for the last quarter, although they missed on revenue. But for the current quarter, Broadcom's forecast was above the average estimate. The company also raised its dividend 14% and announced a $10 billion stock buyback program. Broadcom shares right now higher by 6%, and Lululemon with a boost to adjusted EPS, at least the forecast for the full year, shares right now higher by just 0.1%. Now, overall today we had a
nice candle. You see how that's a bigger candle than all the others. This is a nice move.
The Dow finished the day
RSI is getting some momentum. RSI 59.
0.7%. Nasdaq comp weaker by 1.7%. One of the big stories of the day, the FDA expanding eligibility for Pfizer's COVID booster. It now includes 16 and 17-year-olds. Pfizer shares today up by about 1.3%. Tomorrow we'll get consumer inflation data for the month of November, and of course, next week it's the Fed meeting. Today, 10-year Treasury down about 2 basis points to a number in yield terms of 149. I'm Doug Krisner. That's your Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you so much for that update, Doug.
It must have been about 60, really. You can get to this level here. Look, see where its previous peaks of the RSI. Oh, I always look at. I know a lot of traders don't look at RSI like this, but I always do. Areas of support and resistance for an RSI where it's hit, rebounded, tried to, rebounded, not broken out. So this is where it could get to. At 66, 65, that's where I'd be looking to take profit.
And it was just a few months ago that
how I work it out, you know, using our ACT system.
When the world fell apart because of COVID, but also international travel and domestic travel just dried up. Take us back to what it was like to be at a large airline.
Yeah,
Look at crypto. Oh, look at that. Are we selling? Are we selling? Everything's red on crypto, as we know at the moment. Nothing. Again, just for me, I'm just holding. If Bitcoin's going to get back above 50. 48,000 at the moment. So a bit to go yet.
And I'm not, up to date with all their numbers now, but I know that, when I was there was 10 billion UK sterling in the bank, and we made sure that we made sure that we were resilient to withstand this. So it's a very, very resilient company, and it will come through it. And since the US has opened up, we've seen enormous pent-up demand, exactly as Carol was saying earlier. The Brits and the US and the EU, the people from Europe traveling to the States has really, really taken off. And a big message, I was speaking to a key leader in airports in the US today, and they think
ranging
such pent-up demand.
a little bit in and out, really major yet. It's got a break above here to be a buy. We're taking a buy on this candle here. See if we get the sell. Dead. Not triggered a trade yet. We're not going to trade on this.
It's a little warning so that we don't get too much chaos.
This is a good pattern to watch.
Very much, but we need more of them.
Oh, Julia, I know there's so much pent-up demand for international travel and for travel when it comes to tourism, but what about when it comes to business? Does business travel ever get back?
We've got eight setups waiting. Don't really like doing pending orders. I'd rather watch live and do it. That's just the way I. But if you want to do pending orders, you've got to set up. Thanks to our AX system, so if you want to trade like that, you can.
We've done a business report recently, and interestingly, while the area of Asia Pacific, Australia, Japan, and China, they are actually coming out of their COVID travel restrictions for leisure travel slower. When that lifts, we are expecting them to rebound in business actually before everybody else. So I think it will come back. And while I do respect the fact that we are getting used to doing a lot of meetings with Zoom, it's fine when you know your team and you know people. But when you need to forge new business, or business maybe has got a lot of, dollar signs, zeros behind it, it's really important that you do those deals in person. And so I love Zoom for when I'm talking to my team and people I know. But if I'm gonna seal a big deal, I'm gonna need to be able to do that in person. So I think it will be slower, but I think it will come back.
Hey, Julia, I love that the CEOs of the travel and tourism companies of the world, they're all are all a part of your organization. You mentioned talking with a CEO just earlier today. When you look at the different sectors, whether it's hotels, whether it's airlines, whether it's cruise lines, restaurants, I mean, all of this plays into it. Is there any consensus about the outlook generally, and what about geographically the outlook going forward?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's interesting because in the US, we lost 5.5 million jobs when the pandemic struck.
Back into not done it yet. Don't expect it straight away. This is the death zone, the dead zone, But I just want to show you can have setups in this area, and it's just slower trading. For those of you who panic about quick trades, quick scalping, this is just the way it is if you want to do a slower, free Asian kind of setup. And hey, we've got no Asian news even to put anything other than the COVID news at the moment. Ranging. We'll waiting to see if we get this push. Here we go. Look, it's trying again. It's trying its best. 557. Say if it can get up to here. We've been done. Check.
We saw Thanksgiving, that went very well. The airline,
Yes.
everybody coped really well, which was fantastic. But it's getting those
In the stream.
visitors back and that footfall, because it is worth sort of millions of dollars. So and then I think Asia Pacific will open up a bit later, but I think business-wise, Asia Pacific will probably rebound faster.
Yeah, we've definitely been looking for it on the streets of New York City in terms of, I'm so used to walking in the cities and hearing lots of different languages and seeing people from all over, and it's definitely been something we have missed during the pandemic.
Now people are just yelling at me in English.
New York City. Julia, have a great and safe and happy holiday season. So nice to catch up with you. Julia Simpson, she's president and CEO of the WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, joining us on the phone from London. So nothing says Christmas like on Chris Crinkle.
That's right. Ho, ho, ho.
Exactly. And listen,
if you can find one.
Well, exactly. We've seen worker shortages. They've hit nearly every industry this year. We talk about it in shipping, hospitality, travel, and leisure. We're just talking about it with our guest, Julia Simpson. Well, it's also hitting the Santa industry. Demand for Santas, from malls to Christmas parties, it's definitely sky high, and bearded men in red suits, well, they're unfortunately scarce. Bloomberg's Jeff Bellinger has that story.
Santa and his team are preparing for Christmas Eve, so kids won't be disappointed on Christmas morning. But many planners are hard-pressed to find Santa entertainers for holiday events this year. Mitch Allen is the founder and head elf at Hire Santa in Fort Worth, Texas. He and other Santa bookers have a common problem.
We're definitely experiencing a Santa
Hopefully now it's of this
having a Santa Claus entertainer come to
raise up again. Been so bearish for such a long time. The only kind of slight pullback over the whole session.
out and about this year.
He blames concerns about COVID-19 and natural attrition as the men reach retirement age.
As you can imagine, many of our Santa Claus entertainers are susceptible to a negative.
Is it going to hit?
We have
Zoom in.
a number of Santa Claus entertainers who are going to sit out
RSI 56.
due to COVID concerns. And then lastly, every single year we have Santas that say, you know, it's time for me to hang up the red coat.
Watch this for the last few minutes of the stream.
A lot of Santas for season-long appearances at malls and department stores, but he told us he still had hundreds of positions open when we spoke to him a couple of weeks ago.
Santa.
And it's trying to hold up on this trend line. Yeah, this is where I want it to get to.
From the heart of organization, money, and power collide. In Silicon Valley and beyond, this is Bloomberg Technology with Emily Chang.
Chang in San Francisco, and this is Bloomberg Technology. Coming up in the next hour, COVID hospital admissions jump, booster shot recommendations expand, and the Omicron variant continues to spread. We will have a virus update. Plus, CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz says competitor Microsoft's customers are losing trust in its cybersecurity protection. We'll get a response from Microsoft.
And pushing up, look, hammer.
Gas in the tank to continue its car plans? We'll explore the answer as engineers continue to switch gears. All that in a moment, but first let's get a look at the markets. U.S. stocks falling as the economic threat of restrictions to control the new variant outweighed optimism about the
TikTok leads.
of vaccines.
Tech leads stock market decline. Again, I'm watching on oil here. Closing prices, 500 down 0.72%, NAS down 171, the yields are down. Seeing that on NAS, was watching this and watching 200. Look, here we go, look. What we said would happen. Our TP, that beautiful.
Do they move together? So something to keep an eye on ahead of tomorrow's report. We have to talk about Bitcoin, though, in a market check. Check out the terminal chart of Bitcoin kind of trading sideways, really stuck between two major moving averages, the 200-day and the 100-day. Something technical analysts are saying, well, this isn't exactly a good sign. This could be a head and shoulders pattern signaling Bitcoin has further to fall, even further than its current retreat from that 50,000 level. Let's get to some intraday movers, though, because it's not just the macro story we're watching. We're watching those earnings after the bell. Broadcom up 6.3% after hours. This coming after they not only beat their earnings,
Nice to see oil move.
$1 share buyback, and on top of that, cherry on top of the Sunday, raising their quarterly revenue to $4.10. I'm going to skip with Chewy for a second and hit Oracle because it's a similar story there. Also authorizing a $10 billion share buyback. Also beating their earnings. That one driven by a 22% increase in their cloud business. Chewy not getting that message, missing their earnings on the top and bottom line. And you can see the stock really suffering about 8% after hours, Emily.
All right, Kriti, thank you for the roundup. Meantime, COVID-19 hospital admissions are rising quickly in many parts of the northeastern United States. Government data shows that in 12 states and Washington, D.C., the 7-day average of admissions with confirmed cases of COVID-19 has climbed at least 50% in just 2 weeks. The states with the biggest jumps, Connecticut, New Jersey, Vermont, Rhode Island, along with D.C. Bloomberg's Drew Armstrong, who leads our healthcare team, joins us now with more. Drew, how worried should we be?
You know, I think what we're seeing right now is this bump that, in many ways echoes what happened last year at the beginning of the holidays. People got together for Thanksgiving. They are being driven inside by the colder weather. And all of those things are mixing and mingling and travel and people being in enclosed spaces. That is going to lead to an increased level of spread of the virus. And that tends to be followed by increased hospitalizations. So it looks like we're on the cusp of another significant winter wave, unfortunately.
Meantime, we're getting new guidelines by the day. The World Health Organization suggesting we don't mix and match vaccines and boosters. People are already doing this. What is the takeaway?
I think kind of there's a lot of mixed information out there. There's certainly data that shows a lot of efficacy. A lot of people are just going to get whatever vaccine is available. I mean, I couldn't tell you the name of the manufacturer of the last flu vaccine that I got, and I get that every year. For those for different strains of the flu virus. So I think the story of the pandemic has been often shifting, often changing guidance, and that's almost certainly going to continue, unfortunately.
Johnson & Johnson, the CEO, was on Bloomberg Television with our colleague David Weston earlier today, talked about Omicron and what we're learning. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Where we want to start is to see how will the Omicron virus be impacted by the current vaccine. And look, again, we're encouraged by some of the data. We need to gather more to determine exactly, what the efficacy profile will look like. But right now, in fact, we're already working on a next generation should that be necessary.
Drew, are we going to need a new vaccine, new booster for every dangerous variant to come?
In all likelihood, no. I mean, one of our colleagues, Bob Langers, has a story out today kind of pointing at the real problem of trying to chase variance with boosters, you are always going to be behind. I think combine that with the fact that you've seen, I think, some decent effective data for people who have had booster shots already. You're always going to be dealing with a degree of new variants, vaccine escape, decreasing immunity over time. Those things are just facts of life. When you talk about the kind of booster versus variant thing, you really can't do it. I mean, it just doesn't, the variants are always going to arise faster than the ability to mass manufacture boosters and get them out to people. It's not really a viable strategy if it becomes a necessary one. Thankfully, the protection data for people who've been boosted versus this variant looks decent enough.
Well, Omicron is certainly one we're chasing now. Bloomberg's Drew Armstrong, thank you very much. Later this hour, we're going to have more of that exclusive interview with the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, Alex Gorsky. You don't want to miss it. Meantime, Apple's top secret car project has lost 3 more top engineers. The latest bump in the road for the iPhone maker's car ambitions. The departures include a manager on the hardware team, Apple's chief radar engineer, and a battery group manager as well. All of them moving on to startups. Joining us now for more are Ed Ludlow, who is in LA today. Ed, what do we know about this series of defections?
It's interesting where they went. 2 of them went to Archer Aviation and 1 went to Joby, which of course are sort of battery electric, personal flying taxi startups. That's what they're working on. It wouldn't draw too much into that, but remember, this has been a year where the Apple car project, as Bloomberg's reported, has had a number of high-profile departures, the most important of which being probably Doug Field, who was kind of leading that project at Apple and ended up going to Ford's to be Ford's chief technologist. And there's so much intense interest with this project. I love that image because we don't know much about the car, but what we keep hearing is that there's a merry-go-round of executives there.
So what do we know about the design or the product that Apple is working towards? I mean, we still don't
Oh, no movement yet on that real movement.
There was a really important Bloomberg scoop last month from Mark Gurman that Apple's kind of made a firmer decision to make a
Dead zone, so that's it. So that's closed on a broker just for now. So we're looking to get 100 points on this. Like I say, US-30 is where it is. There's a sell if we pop out this neutral zone. There's a buy if we break above here. And then Oz 200, obviously we're looking to take the dip, the sell. We're going to have a new TP level off our baseline here, which will be again about 100 points. So fantastic. So brilliant. So we'll leave you them setups. We've got the Asian setups. For those who watch this back, be interested to see how they play out tonight. And just want to say thanks to everyone for joining me this week on the live streams we've done. If you like what we do, give us a like and share and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. You get notifications of when I'm live next. And like I say, if you want to join our group, then go to www.mohawkforex.com, our website, for all the information on how to be part of our true scalping team. Access to this Axe trading system. So trade safe as always, everybody, and until the next live stream, take care and we'll see you on the other side. Stay safe.